Nancy Jones has been long recognized as an important historic structure in Cary, and so it's been a desire to have it under town ownership for a very, very long time. And we had an opportunity. We recognized that the temple had taken ownership of the land that it was on, and they had other plans for that land. And so as soon as they took over ownership, we began the process of working directly with the temple to save the home. They had identified it in their acquisition as a priority as well.
We're preparing the house for the relocation, and in order to do that, we had worked with the State Historic Preservation Office to come out and assess the house and tell us maybe if these side additions need to be moved with it or relocated. They had found that they don't need to be because they're not original. So one of the main things we're doing is removing those additions, and then we're going to patch over them. So one of the things that we have to be careful about when moving an old house is just the structural soundness of the building. So we had engineers come out and take a look at it to make sure it was able to withstand a move. A lot of old houses, you'll see they'll remove the chimneys before they move it, but this one we've actually found that they should be able to withstand this move, especially if we kind of tether them together. So, and once we insert some steel supports under the house, that'll help keep it structurally together as well. This is my first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm very nervous. I was standing in there watching them do the interior removals and I'm panicking. And so the mantles are original. Those will be staying. They might take them out for the move because part of the process, or one of the good things about moving the house is if you notice outside the chimneys are kind of tilting away from the house. So when we get it set on new foundation, new footings, it can help correct the chimneys. And so by removing the mantles, that kind of gives the chimneys a little bit more freedom to move without breaking anything. They're also gonna tear up the hearth on both fireplaces so that when they do try and tilt the chimneys back into place, it's not gonna rip out the floor or anything. I would say since it's Cary's oldest known structure, residential structure, that people have a certain attachment to it, so it makes it a little bit more high priority. People see this house all the time driving by, and so they're very concerned about its future. So we get a lot of the community that's always asking what's going to happen to it. Some of our other properties that are historic are all equally important, but they're not at risk as much as a house like this where we don't own the property and the people that do own the property maybe aren't interested in using the house. So that made it a little bit more pertinent that we relocate it. Moving a house is kind of like a last resort. You really don't want to move a house. But since we don't own this property and the temple was gracious enough to work with us to sell us the house so that we could relocate it, since they do want to develop their property, that's why we're moving it.
So we prepared the house to move it to its new location. We trenched in the AT&T lines. Those are going to get plated for us to go over them here and at the new site, but relatively straightforward. Once it's on the road, that's when things will move quickly, moving about 2 to 3 miles an hour. We're rolling, and then on and off the road is where we've got some slow ups. But when we purchased the house, we knew the chimneys had some issues. You can see there's some restraints already in place from the previous owners. But what we've done to prepare is we rolled the chimneys in to make them plumb, and then we added some restraints going through the house, essentially pinning the chimneys against the house for this move. They also had to do some bracing underneath the bottom of the chimney to keep them from falling down as well. Yeah, so we worked with Wolf and their design team. Wolf came out and took measurements of the whole house and came up with the design of what's going to be needed to structurally support the house. Sorry.
This is a big moment now.
Yeah.
This is the first move, right?
Yeah, this is the first move. So, when the foundation was here in place, they essentially punched holes through the foundation and started placing in the beams. And as they placed more and more in, they started to remove more and more foundation. They installed some wood cribbing to hold this house up in the meantime. And the wood cribbing allowed them to slide these dollies in. And so these dollies operate independently of each other, so you can get a really sharp turning radius of the house. And they also have stabilization systems, so as it's moving, they can continue to keep the house level, when they're going over different terrain. Yeah, this is the first official house move that the town of Cary is the project manager for. We've been involved in different capacities, helping other historic groups move houses, but this is the first one that we're managing the whole move. We may see some cracking in some of the walls, but as long as the actual foundation piece is good, that's what we're concerned about. Obviously, getting the house there in one piece is a major concern, but Wolf hasn't lost a house yet, so I feel very confident. And this is one of the smaller houses that they've moved. The house is in the process of being moved to the right-of-way right now, so this is kind of the slowest, longest part. So we're knocking that out today. Then we'll be moving the house down Chapel Hill Road tomorrow, about 500 feet.
Watching Nancy Jones come down Chapel Hill Road was surreal. It was so much larger than I ever imagined. And of course, it was propped up a little bit, which made it look bigger. But once we took it out of being tucked back inside the property, wow, it was enormous. And it just slowly rolled towards us. The day was beautiful, incredible sunshine, and just watching it, it was almost like welcoming her home to her new place.
This morning, we're moving. We're moving the historic Nancy Jones house. This house was built in 1803, over 200 years old. And we've got it packed up, safe and sound, and we're moving down the road as we speak. Now, this wasn't easy. It took a sustained intergovernmental effort. We've got local utilities, we've got fire, police. We had to clear this road to make sure we could move this building without fail.
Throughout the process of moving the Nancy Jones house, we've been concerned about being able to preserve the National Historic Register status of the property. So we've been working with the State Historic Preservation Office and even the National Park Service when we were selecting the site for the new location for the property. The opportunities we have with the Nancy Jones house are similar to those that we had with the Page Walker Hotel, which became the Page Walker Arts and History Center, the Cary Arts Center, which formerly had been Cary High School, and the Cary Theater. The adaptive reuse of these historic buildings has brought many opportunities to our community, everything from programs to events, even weddings.
The commitment to preserving history is one of the best things about my job. I love it because we can't possibly chart our future without knowing our past. And when we work together, that makes it even better. So this whole effort has been incredible because it's been a community effort. The celebration when we reached agreement on moving the home and things has been incredible.